Hello and welcome to this extremely special episode of Success Synergy Show. I'm your host Neena Dayal, and I have the star marketing expert of Twitter with me, Madalyn Sklar. Everybody knows Madalyn, so I don't think any introduction is needed here. Thank you very much for being here, Madalyn, for accepting my invite to be here. And I will still tell the people who may not know you about who you are really, and it's a long list of credentials. Madalyn has been ranked number one social media power influencer in Houston, Texas. She is amongst the 50 must follow women entrepreneurs. This is by Huffington Post. A very incredible credential to your creditor, definitely. She is also amongst 50 incredible women in marketing to follow. Search engine journalist said this. She's amongst the top 100 digital marketers, number 21 by Brand 24, and she's the speaker at Social Media Marketing World in 2016, 2017, 18, 19, 20. Continuously, she's been there. So, Madalyn is the absolute right person to go to if you want to learn anything about social media, specifically Twitter. And I met Madalyn on her Twitter Smarter chat, which is an absolute must follow place for everybody. I have found a great community there. She is the host of the Twitter Smarter podcast. So get smarter with Twitter. If at all you need to, if at all you want to, she's the right person. Welcome to the show, Madalyn. I'm so happy to have you here with me.
Oh, thank you for inviting me, Neena. And what a nice intro. Thank you so much.
It is you deserve much more because I've seen you in action. And Thursday, 10:30 p.m. my calendar is booked. Although sometimes I'm really crazily rushing into it, but Twitter Smarter Chat is the place for everybody to be there. I've met such wonderful people already, and
it's a great Twitter chat.
I'm sure we'll be.
Yeah, it's a great chat. We get people from all over the world on that Twitter chat every week. It's amazing.
It is indeed. How did you think of the idea of starting this Twitter chat? It's just something so amazing.
Well, thank you. I've been actually hosting Twitter chats for a really long time. I've been hosting Twitter Smarter every week for 5 years now. We started over 5 years ago, but I actually started doing Twitter chats in 2011 because I was noticing there weren't a whole lot of them back then, but they were fun, and I would go and participate. And I thought, I would like to start one. It's always great when you can fill a gap. And nobody was doing a Twitter chat about Twitter. And I had taken upon myself to really be like a person people could go to learn about Twitter, because I love Twitter so much. I've been on it since 2008. And I learn as much as I can. And let me tell you, there's so many things about Twitter that people don't even know about. And I love teaching people these things, because everybody's like, I know how to do Twitter. I don't need help. I always say, look, you don't know what you don't know. Let me show you 10 things you don't know that you could do on Twitter, and it'll be your favorite social network once you learn them.
Yes.
So I always knew that there was this need to help people learn how to better use Twitter. And so I've been doing Twitter chats for a long time. And in 2015, I'd already been using the Twitter Smarter hashtag. That's like a whole other story. I'd already been using Twitter Smarter as a hashtag. It's always best to research, make sure it's a hashtag no one else is using. And I wanted it to say what it was, like, let me help you be smarter on Twitter. So let's call it Twitter Smarter. And I was using it as a way to help people. I would say back in 2013, I said, hey, anybody out there, if you go follow this hashtag, I'm going to post articles and information every day that will help you better market yourself on Twitter. Whenever I come across a Twitter article, I'm going to share it. If I do a Twitter article, I'm going to share it. Like, I just wanted to be like a repository of good, helpful Twitter tips. And then in 2015, still in 2013, started the hashtag. Then I did an online masterclass called my Twitter Smarter Masterclass. And so that was 2013, did it every year. 2015 rolls around. I thought, what I want to do this year is I want to keep the Twitter Smarter. It was turning into a brand is what it was doing. I wasn't trying to, it just kind of happened. So I thought, okay, this year I want to start a podcast and call it Twitter Smarter. And I'd like to start a Twitter chat and call it Twitter Smarter. And so the podcast actually came first. Everybody thinks the Twitter chat was the first thing. And actually it was the last thing I did. So I started a podcast. I called it Twitter Smarter. Everybody loved it. I was going to wait a while to start the chat, but because the podcast was doing so well, I waited about maybe 6 weeks after launching it. And I thought, I'm going to just go ahead and just do it, because that's my favorite thing to say is just do it.
Just do it. Yes,
And
I know you have a
I even
tattoo
have the
also saying
tattoo.
just do it.
I even have a tattoo that says just do it. People get a real kick out of that. So I launched the Twitter Smarter Chat in July 2015. And that's what I'm really known for, is this Twitter chat, because it was an instant success. I wasn't sure if people would be interested in wanting to learn how to better use Twitter, but from the very first week, people just were attracted to it. They love coming every week and learning. And with my experience hosting Twitter chats, you have to pick a day and time and hope it works for everyone. And I had picked Thursdays in the afternoon, 1:00 Eastern in the US, and not knowing if people would come from overseas. I've done other Twitter chats where people overseas would come to, but you're always going to have people in some part of the world where they're going to be sleeping when the chat's going on.
Right.
But I am amazed at how global this chat is. We get a lot of people in Europe, and we get a lot of people in India that come on. And I know it's nighttime, it's 10:30 at night. And I'm amazed that people want to stay up late and come hang out on this 1-hour Twitter chat. So I'm very honored.
It is absolutely wonderful. I think I've just joined it 5 weeks back, and it's on my calendar, repeating every week, giving me a reminder that I have to be there. The first thing that I did was put it on my calendar. That's really important, and everybody should do it, because there is so much to learn. And I come from a business coaching background, and I have helped many clients build their social media profiles. But at the end of the day, what happened with me was I joined in 2009 Twitter, and I did not build my own profile. So what happens presently is, at the end of the day, when I don't feel like doing anything, specifically related with social media, going to a community where I'm welcomed is the most important thing. It just learning is definitely there, but being a part of the community, I think, is the greatest endeavor that Twitter Smarter Chat has attained. This is what I am watching for the last 5 weeks. I've been there only for 5 weeks, but it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. You deserve great applause from worldwide.
Well, thank you for saying that, because it's very important to me as the host of the chat to make everyone feel welcomed. I've been on Twitter chats where you show up and it's just cold and uninviting, and they start the questions right at the top of the hour, and you're like, wait a minute, I want to say hi to people. I want to get to know people, because that's part of the reason, is to come and connect with like-minded people. And so even when I started doing Twitter chats in 2011, it was very important to me where we spend the first 10 or 15 minutes saying hello to each other, getting to know each other, do an icebreaker question to just kind of get things started. And it's amazing for me to just sit there and watch the whole community interact for those first 10 or 15 minutes. And it's like watching a whole bunch of friends just come together, like they're sitting at a bar, hanging out, having a great time. It's a really special feeling. And I think that's one of the most important things you have to do.
Yes.
If you're hosting a chat. You got to make people feel welcome. And I go out of my way to try to say hello to as many people when it starts. It's not easy because there's so many people there. I'm trying to run everything. So one of the things I did early on was I put together a group of greeters. So I have these volunteers that are there every week, and they're just fans of the chat, but they help me greet everyone. So that way, when people come in, hopefully somebody in our loop between me and my volunteers are saying hello to them and making them feel welcome, especially when people are new, because it can be scary the first time. You don't know anyone, and we want you to feel like you're part of this great community. So it's really special.
Yes, definitely. And Madalyn, one of the things that I learned, the first ever things that I learned was that you can actually build a community within Twitter. See, it is very easy to build a community on LinkedIn, and it is definitely there something to do on Facebook. We associate those platforms with communities. But Twitter, I had personally never associated it with community. Of course, learning and updating and things like that, even marketing is definitely been on the cards. But associating it with a community has come from Twitter Smarter Chat, from attending this. And now I am attending others also, But the warmth of this community is amazing. Absolutely, as you said, it's just brilliant.
Thank you.
So I know you are very passionate about social media marketing. Tell us some things which a newbie like myself can benefit from. How does one start doing any kind of marketing on Twitter as such?
That's such a great question. You know what's really important is to get on there and engage with people. Too many times people get on social media and they're being a lurker. They're just watching and looking at everything. And that's important to actually lurk, lurk in a very positive sense, not a negative way,
Yeah,
and see what's
sense,
going on and listening to conversations. But if you don't jump into the conversations and connect and talk to people, they don't even know you're listening and paying attention. So it's really important to engage. People will say to me, well, I get on Twitter, but I don't want to bother anyone. I don't want to, jump into people's conversations. Well, I always say, look, if people are out there tweeting and it's public, it's inviting. It's okay for you to jump in and be part of the conversation. So what I like to do is set up Twitter lists, which is a great feature on Twitter that I think is very underutilized. So I can get on there, put together, like here's an example of one of the lists I have. And this is just a private list for myself. I don't have it public because you can make a Twitter list public or private. I like to set up private lists for my eyes only. So I can go and look at some very specific people or companies. So I have one that I just call Twitter Watch. And it's really just for me to watch different Twitter accounts. It'll be like Twitter's account, the Twitter marketing, Twitter has a lot of different accounts. And also a couple of people that work at Twitter, and I want to be able to catch anything new that's going on so that I can share it to my community, because they look to me to know everything that's going on, what are the new features, what's happening with Twitter. So I have this list, and it's not that many Twitter accounts on it, but I can easily click on it anytime and see what's going on today. What are they tweeting? What are they talking about? So then I can either jump into that conversation, hit reply, or hit the retweet and do a comment on the retweet, or just turn around and just share it to my community. And many times I'll see something new that Twitter just posted, like maybe today they're launching a new feature. I'll take it, I'll retweet it with a comment. So that way, what I want to say is above their tweet, so my whole community will see it. And I make up a hashtag. I call it, new from Twitter as a hashtag to kind of let people know, like, hey, here's something new from Twitter. And I'll talk about this new thing and I'll ask, what do you think? Do you have it yet? Do you like it? And it's a great way to spark conversation. So I'm doing several different things. I'm listening to conversations. I'm utilizing a great feature called Twitter List. And I'm using that so then I can turn around and share helpful information to my community. But this can be applied in so many different ways, depending on what you as a Twitter user are trying to do. Do you want to be a resource and share information? That's a great way. You could go put together a list of maybe top publications in your industry. You could also put together a list of your competitors. Of course, keep that one private. So you can see, what are they up to? What are they talking about on Twitter? And that's just a really simple way of just knowing what's going on and being able to easily jump in and start conversing with people.
Mm-hmm. Right. See, I'm very grateful to you. When I came into your connection, I immediately asked you about Twitter lists, and you shared a lot of resources with me. Being such a powerful influencer on Twitter, how do you manage to get time to reach out and reply to people like me who are just new to the whole game plan of Twitter as such?
You have to make time for it. I always say with social media, you get out what you put in. So you got to decide which ones are you going to focus on. I focus most of my attention on Twitter. I do other social media networks. I do Instagram and a little bit of Facebook and some of the others, but I make sure every day I spend time on Twitter. And there's so many strategies that can help you do this very effectively and make time for it. One of the things that I do, and I'm a big advocate for, is if you are using Twitter to put out helpful information, like people know I'm a resource of information, rather than going on Twitter 10 times a day to go share articles, I'll typically read some, like usually in the morning, I'll read some different articles, get some information. So I'm educating myself. And then I look at the information and go, okay, this article would be good to share to my community. This one will be good too. So I take those different articles and I'll put it into a third-party tool like Buffer or Hootsuite where I can schedule it so it can go out later, because I don't want to put out 5 tweets at once, 5 different articles. That's a little too much. As we all know, Twitter moves at a very fast pace. It's best to spread things out. So my strategy that works really well is the information I want to share, I'll schedule those out. Then that frees me up so I can go focus time on just getting on there, reading tweets, talking to people, and having great conversations. It's very important that if you want to use Twitter and get seen and heard on Twitter, you have to be consistent. You have to make time every single day, and you've got to check your notifications, because that's where people are connecting back to you. They might have seen a tweet that you put out and they're replying back. So you don't want to miss these. You want to spend time every day going through that. So little things like this go such a long way, Nina, just being consistent and being present so people see you. And when you schedule some of these other tweets, and you never want to schedule anything that's like engagement type tweets. This is just purely informational tweets, even information about yourself. So many times people don't feel comfortable sharing about what they do, what, their services, what they're selling. The thing is, they may not even know. I even have to remind myself, like, hey, let me put out the occasional tweet letting people know that I offer one-on-one coaching and consulting. People don't always realize I do that. So I want to make sure that I have tweets like that go out regularly, and scheduling is the easiest way, because that can be on autopilot. So that's running in the background. That means your Twitter feed is always full of different types of tweets, and you definitely want to have a variety of tweets. You don't want everything to be just all about you. Like, hey, buy my stuff, nobody likes that.
Yes.
People connect with those they know, like, and trust. And the way you achieve that is by doing a little bit of everything. Share great information, be a valuable resource on Twitter, but then also take the time to listen to conversations, jump in, talk to people, asking questions. People say, well, I tweet, nobody responds. Well, are you asking a question? What about using a Twitter poll? You could do a poll and ask a question and let people pick their answer. There's so many little things you can do. I always say experiment, try all different things and see what works for you. Because the thing is, I could sit here and say, well, polls work great for me. And then you try it and you're like, yeah, it didn't work. But you don't know unless you try. So experiment and try things, and whatever's working great for you and your community, stick with that.
Right. Actually, first step is to get into building relationships with people and getting into building a small community, even if it is a small community. Like, sure. I had Tim Hughes on the show last time, and he shared 10 Twitter growth tips. I'll include that video afterwards. Later on, I'll link it up here. See, I have been using, I think, 5 or 6 of those growth strategies, because he shared them with me, and I got a fabulous result of 500 plus followers within 15 days. And I know they are engaged people. Otherwise they wouldn't have come to me doing all of these things. So whatever tips you are giving, I am sure they work. Twitter List is absolutely amazing tool. Then you have spoken about Buffer to use as a scheduling tool, which is kind of free, up to 10 tweets a day, and which is pretty much okay for anybody to do. Rest, what about Tweetdeck and all of those tools? Because I keep hearing everybody on the community talk about Tweetdeck and social listening tools. Educate me a little bit on this, please.
Sure. So Tweetdeck and Hootsuite are very, very similar for this, and they pretty much look identical. Tweetdeck is free. Hootsuite has free and they have paid. They got different plans, but Tweetdeck is owned by Twitter, so it's going to be great if you use Tweetdeck. So you can't beat it. It's free and it's a Twitter product. So it's very popular. A lot of the people that come on the Twitter Smarter chat each week, they swear by Tweetdeck. I've been using it for several years. I really like it a lot. It can do a lot of great things. And when it comes to social listening, it's really just listening to the conversations, listening to what people are talking about, like what I've been talking about before, using Twitter lists to help you do that. I have so many different Twitter lists because I just want to be able to look at different things. I mean, think about it. You go and follow people, and then you go to your home screen on Twitter, and there's going to be tweets from all those people you follow. Now, if you're like me and you follow a lot of people, it's so much stuff. It's too much to look at. It's fun to look at, but you could just scroll and scroll and scroll, and it's just the last couple of minutes of tweets from everybody you follow. So a Twitter list is a way to really curate a list of tweets from a very specific group. I mean, I have like, one that's my favorite podcast. I find different podcasts I like and I go follow them on Twitter and I make a list of them. And then I actually have a Twitter list of every guest I've had on the Twitter Smarter chat for the last 5 years. I also have a list from the guests on my Twitter Smarter podcast. So things like that, like people can look at that and go, oh, Madalyn has this really great list. And because it's public, anyone can subscribe to it, which is super cool. So if you're a big fan of the Twitter Smarter chat, you love all the guests, you might want to subscribe to that list so then you can easily use that list yourself and know that, well, gosh, these have all been great guests. I love all these people that come on. Here's a Twitter list of just those people so I can see all their tweets whenever I want. And just it's a much smaller group. Instead of looking at your big home feed, you're just looking at a very specific group. And that can be really helpful. Earlier, I mentioned like a list of your competitors. That is a great way to just know what, doing some social listening and knowing what are people in your industry, what are they up to, what's going on with them. So you could just put together a private list and just check those regularly. So that way you're in the know with what's going on with them. So that way you're not missing out on things. And also as a way for you to stay a step ahead by, being smarter than the competition and knowing where they're at and trying to do something, do a little thing different. They're zigging and you're zagging. So yeah, there's so much you can do with that. But the most popular tools are TweetDeck and Hootsuite when it comes to social listening. I have my Twitter Smarter podcast. I've had several episodes where we've talked about social listening. Same thing with the Twitter Smarter Twitter chat. For your viewers here, if they want to go learn more about these things, and even my articles I've written about Twitter lists, you can go to my website, MadalynSklar.com, and I've got everything broken down. There's a blog section. There's also a section for the chat and for the podcast, and you can go and search for, you could put in social listening in the search and go find the articles and information and past Twitter chats where we talked about that. There's so much information on there.
Yeah, absolutely. There is so much of information. There's a whole world of information. You can just go on and on and on and keep learning and keep trying whatever appeals to you and whatever you can put into your schedule and just do it. It's amazing. Twitter, I am rediscovering the whole ambience of Twitter and enjoying myself thoroughly. That's the most important part. You need to enjoy the social media platform you have chosen for yourself. Like I used to love LinkedIn, I still do. LinkedIn, in fact, is the only social media platform where I have actually had a very active presence. And now it is Twitter, which has made me fall in love with it, absolutely. And the whole credit goes to Twitter Smarter chat because I just chanced upon it one fine day and said, okay, now this is something which is making real good sense to me. So it is important to understand one thing, that you have to like the social media platform that you're working with. Otherwise, you would never really go on and actually spend time on this. That's
so true.
Sure. That's so very sure. Be sure about it. So LinkedIn and Twitter combined has given me some very wonderful people. You're one of them, definitely. But apart from you, there are other people who are not power influencers in their own way, but they're good human beings, and I have developed good connections within that community also. So my way of doing it, Madalyn, is that I get connected with somebody on Twitter and then I invite them for a Zoom discussion. And once we sit face to face, either a bond develops or it doesn't. And that's one step forward in expanding the social influence which I happen to like a field which I tend to specialize in it. So that's how I develop my connectivity. What do you have to say about when you are treating a large community? How do you connect with everybody? That's one intimidating question that often comes to me because one on one or maybe in a small group, it's quite possible. A lot of people think that it is quite possible. But how do you connect so very well with the community, with a global community of thousands of followers? And I've seen you doing it.
Well, I can't do the one-on-one because there's just not enough time in the day to do that. And that's why Twitter chats are so valuable. That's why I'm a big fan of them, why I've been hosting them for so long, and why I'm always telling everybody to, spend time finding Twitter chats for things that can help you. And spend time and get on there because they're just these little mini communities of like-minded people that, if you want to learn more about Twitter, you come to Twitter Smarter. There's so many Twitter chats about just about everything, including hobbies, not just business. So I always recommend, just going on Google and do a Google search and just put whatever it is you're looking for and put Twitter chat with it and see what you uncover. And I always also say, if you can't find one that, a specific one you're looking for, then start your own. That's a great way to build a community of
I'm
people.
really interested in starting my own also. And
Yeah.
I would have you as a guest, definitely. Many number of times.
We've had several people that have been participants of the Twitter Smarter chat. They've been regulars of the chat that went on to start their own. They were inspired and started their own Twitter chats, which has been amazing to watch over the years and see people that love coming to a chat and so inspired that it gets them to start their own. But also I've noticed a lot of people that come to the Twitter Smarter chat, they love chat so much that I'll see them on other Twitter chats, like they become regulars on other chats as well. Now, it's not always easy because usually a Twitter chat is typically 1 hour long. They're usually once a week. So if you find some that you like, it will take some time out of your week, but the reward is so big. As you've said, you come on the Twitter Smarter chat and there's so many great people to connect with. And these are people that can help you in business. And that's what makes it so great. If you're doing it from a business mindset, let's say it's a hobby, maybe you're a fan of baseball and you want to go find Twitter chats about baseball, is finding these chats that have like-minded people and you can make new friends. That's not really a business related thing, but just for fun and meet new people that you would normally never meet. So that's why Twitter chats are incredibly powerful. I always say it's like being at a cocktail party, like being at a bar and having the opportunity to meet 100 people in 1 hour. And what's interesting, and I've been saying this for years, but now that we're in this pandemic with COVID, like we can't go to a networking event at a bar now. We can't, we're not allowed to. So I think Twitter chats are even more valuable because it's like doing that. It's like being in person, but I get to meet with hundreds of people from all over the world that I would normally never meet. So Twitter chats I'm such a big fan of them. I think everyone should spend time trying to find some interesting Twitter chats that you think would benefit you and just try them out and find ones. And I say at least one or two that you become a regular on, that you're there every week. It does so much for you because all those connections you make, but not just that. Let's like back to the Twitter Smarter chat that I host was so interesting. Even though I bring a guest on each week and we have a topic that's related something to Twitter marketing, sometimes we'll do something that's more of a social media like we've had a Pinterest expert come on and talk about Pinterest. Sometimes we'll do things like that to change it up and people love that, but it's primarily Twitter. But if you feel like you know a lot, you can answer the questions as well. And that's a way to show how you're an expert and how much knowledge you have. And people notice that. I notice it too. I've had guests that have come on the chat that from watching them come on the chat and answer the questions so great. And like, wow, this person knows a lot. I should invite them to be a guest. And I've done that. Our guest last week, he's a regular on the chat and he's like amazing with emojis. His tweets are so good the way he uses emojis. So I said, I would love to have you come on, be a guest, and let's make that week's chat all about how to effectively use emojis in your tweets. And it was an amazing chat.
It was
So
amazing, absolutely.
it was interesting. And so I'm
Very amazing.
always paying attention to people
Yes.
that come on and answer the questions. But a lot of people come on and say, this is an hour of learning for me. I'm learning more coming to this chat each week than taking a class or being in a college course. It's amazing to hear people say that they get so much out of it. So, you got people that learn and people that want to teach.
I met Amit Panchal and last week Jignesh. They are both from India, and I would have never met them. Being from India, I would have never met them had they not been present as guests on your Twitter Smarter Chat. So it's just world is really growing smaller with the social media, and we're sitting halfway across the world and meeting for the very first time. But my own brethren over here, I mean, I would have never met them had it not been for Twitter Smarter Chat. See, entrepreneurship, I understand very well, of course, but when it comes to Twitter or any other social media platform, when I see people really selling hard, that doesn't work.
No.
When it comes to creating a business as a solopreneur, as a small business owner, or even as a large business owner. So, what is that little trick which works on the social media?
It's back to what I said earlier. You got to get people to know, like, and trust you. And this is basic sales and marketing for any industry. It has nothing to even do with social media, but it applies to social media so well. You see people get on there on social media and they're just promoting their stuff. And you're like, I don't know you. Why would I just go buy something because you're pushing it out there? And there's nothing worse than, and I've had this so many times, somebody on Twitter connects with you, they send you a direct message, and you don't even know them, but their direct message says, hey, come follow me on LinkedIn. Here's my link and buy my book. And I'm like, I don't know you. Yeah. Why would I leave Twitter to go to LinkedIn when we haven't even established a rapport yet? And why would I just go buy your book? I know nothing about you. So that strategy has been used so much for so many years in business, like just pushing and pushing and pushing. What works is know, like, and trust. So get people to know you, get people to like you, get people to trust you. And then they're more inclined to buy from you or sign up for, when you got a free webinar, they'll be more inclined to sign up because they like you and they know what you're about. So it's best to get on social media, and this is for all platforms, get on there and just share information, be helpful, make it about them, not about you. People see right through that when what's in it for me? No, what's in it for them? How can I be of help? And people love that. Here's an example. So yesterday, one of my regulars on the Twitter Smarter Chat, and she has her own chat called Lead Loudly. It's a really great Twitter chat. Her name is Nathalie. So Nathalie, this was brilliant what she did. So she listened to one of the episodes of my Twitter Smarter podcast, and she took the tweet. I have these on autopilot. So every time I have an episode, there's a blog, it's the show notes. It's like a blog post. And I use a tool called Social Jukebox. And I can put all of those in there one time and let them just run on autopilot. Prior to tools like that, I had to do those individually all the time. And that's very time consuming. So when I mentioned earlier, scheduling some of these things can free up so much more time. So things like that is a great example of automating. And again, we're not automating any kind of engagement. We're just automating information you'd be tweeting anyway, but why do it manually where it's so time consuming when you can just run on autopilot? So this was one of those tweets with one of our episodes. She saw this tweet. She listened to the episode, and this is what she did that was so smart. She did a couple of very smart things. First, she decided to talk about this episode with a video, which I'm all about video. Video on Twitter is so underutilized. If you want to get noticed on Twitter, start using video. And so I know a lot of people are scared. They're nervous. They don't want to be on video, but it really works. So what she did, she took the tweet I had, she did retweet with a comment. So basically it's going to be her saying what she wants above the tweet. including the video that she made with my original tweet underneath. So so many times we just hit reply and reply to a tweet, which is fine when you want to be conversational, but you got to keep in mind when you reply to a tweet, you're replying to a very specific tweet. So when people are looking at your Twitter feed, it's not going to show up in the Twitter feed. It's going to show up, when you're on Twitter, on somebody's profile, what you see at the top, it just says tweets. So it's just whatever I tweeted out. Next to it says tweets and replies.
Yes.
Most people don't click on that on their browser or tap on that on their phone to go look at everything. So people will miss a lot of things. So if I'm just replying to and there's nothing wrong with replying, but think about what is it you're trying to do? What Nathalie was trying to do was she didn't want to just hit reply because no one else would see it. So what she did is she and it's so smart, retweet with the comment. So by doing that, it goes into her main Twitter feed. So if you go to her profile, you will see it, which will get her more engagement, more comments, more everything. I'll still see it, so it's a win-win all around. So I see this video. She just made a short little video, just her on her phone talking, and she talked about the episode and what she learned and how much she enjoyed it. So caught my attention. It caught other people's attention. So she's got all these people responding and having a conversation. So again, if she just hit reply to my tweet, she wouldn't have gotten that engagement because all of her people on Twitter might not have seen it. So by the time I saw it later in the day, she already had a bunch of comments and they were all talking about Twitter video and talking about me. And I was like, well, this is great. So I'm out walking my dog yesterday when I saw this because, hey, sometimes you got to check Twitter when you've got a little bit of downtime. For me personally, if I'm out walking my dog, I'm usually checking Twitter at that point. So because I don't always have time when I'm sitting here at my desk. So I see her video. So I'm like, let me do a video reply back to her and give her my 2 cents on her 2 cents. And video is so powerful because when we're on social media, it's so easy to hide behind a tweet, behind a Facebook post, behind an Instagram post. But when you're responding with video, people see you and they get to know, like, and trust you, right?
Absolutely.
So I made a quick little video.
Brilliant tip, absolutely.
Yeah. It's such an easy thing. So I just did a quick little reply back, made the little video, gave her my 2 cents. Now I just did it as a reply because, the way she tweeted it, I want to just be within that conversation and talk to her and her other people that were responding. So it's almost like a little community within this conversation. And so we all had this nice conversation. But what was interesting, when I was making this tweet, so all I did was hit reply on my phone on the Twitter app, opens it up, and then you click on, and this is for Android and iPhone, but iPhone and Android are the same, and this only works on mobile. When you're tweeting, and this is a great exercise for everybody to do, is start getting the habit of doing video replies. Take a tweet somebody sent you today, and instead of just replying back and just typing what you want to say, make a video. So when you hit reply, you'll see the little picture or camera icon. I think it's just the little picture icon. You tap on that and then it'll show your most recent photos, but also next to it will be the camera icon. You tap on the camera icon, it opens up your camera in the app, and then you tap on video and then turn around, click on to point it at you because it's going to point forward, point at you. You're now holding your phone, you got the video, this is the hardest part for everybody, is pressing that button to video. And so you press the button and just talk, and you can do up to 2 minutes and 20 seconds, but you don't need to be lengthy. Just short and to the point works really well. Everybody has a short attention span, so I keep them pretty short. So I thought, let me reply to Nathalie's video and let me share. She was naming off all these things. I said, well, I want to add to it. So I just did a quick little video. And I just talked about engagement and stuff. I talked about how, another thing to add to what you said, Nathalie, is Twitter video is just fun. It was the episode from my podcast was about Twitter video. So that's why this was so great that we're all doing video talking. It was very meta. Twitter video, talking about Twitter video. So I was talking about how much fun, and here I'm walking my dog. I have her on the leash. I'm trying to show her, while I'm holding the phone, and she's way off, and it was fun. I was just showing this is why video is fun. And everybody loved that. And then it made me think of something else. Like, okay, I'm doing the video. And of course, when you're doing it within the app, my shirt reads backwards because, all these apps, that's how they do it,
Yeah.
right? So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go make it real quickly. Right when I was finishing up walking my dog, I'm like, I'm going to make a video real quick and do a Twitter tip video. And I'm going to share like, hey, if you want to have your video, like I was wearing a shirt where you can read it. And I was like, well, if I do this directly through the app, it's backwards. So let me real quickly make a video for everyone showing them if you want it to not be backwards, here's what you do. And it's just basically just record it directly through your phone, not in the app. And so I just made a quick little video and people loved it. They're like, wow, this is a great tip. And I didn't realize I could do that. So video is amazing. There's so much that it can do to help you with the know, like, and trust. I mean, just by being just yourself. That's really all it is.
Yes. It is a brilliant tip. I know it and I'm going to use it definitely immediately. And I know it is going to work because video is a tool on which people can really see immediately if bonding has to happen, it will happen immediately, instantaneously. And as people are reading less and less, people are just coming through the text rather than going deeply into reading anything these days. Video is the very best thing to do. And it's amazing. Thank you so much, Madalyn.
It stands out. It stands out in the feed. I'm a big fan of having my tweets with an image, an emoji. I love gifs, and I even go a step further. I do custom gifs. I make my own gifs. They're so easy to do. People are like, I didn't know I could do that. I'm like, yes, it's very easy. Here's a YouTube link that shows you how to do this. I just use my phone and I like set up a little background right behind me and I stood in front of it and I did all by myself. I put my phone on a tripod. I just hit the button to record and I stood and I made all these different like hi or thumbs up and I just did different little things I see. Yes. When I go pick a GIF in Giphy in the Twitter app, like, well, why don't I make one doing the same thing, but with me doing it? And it's huge. People are like, oh my God. I use them all the time. I really started doing this all in about a year ago. I'm like, I'm going to start doing this more. I think people feel they love GIFs. Everybody loves GIFs, but how much better when it's you? And all you got to do is just make some and then you're just using them over and over. I have like all these different ones. I use them all the time. If you come on the Twitter Smarter chat, you're going to see so many of my tweets when I'm replying to people. People come in, hi, I just got here to Twitter Smarter. How is everybody? Then I'll, I try to do as many as I can quickly because it's, there's so much I'm trying to do on the chat. But I have one where I go like, hello, and I one where I'm like, hi. I got two different ones, and I'll just, just fire them off to people. Hi, back to them with the GIF, and they're like, wow, Madalyn's waving to me. How cool. So it's amazing the way we can utilize video and GIFs on Twitter that just changes the whole landscape of your Twitter marketing.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that makes really cool sense because when people see you, they will definitely connect in one way or the other. I think it's going to be positive most of the time for most of the people because that's what you are trying to do on social media. If you don't want to get connected with people, might as well go away from the social media. Don't be on the social media. You want to be there, might as well show your face, show your personality, show whatever you really want to be selling. Selling is not a dirty word, but do it in a decent manner rather than just shoving it in somebody's face. That doesn't work.
Absolutely. So when people see me doing videos, they see me doing GIFs, they're getting to know, like, and trust me. So now if I turn around and say, hey, I got this webinar coming out next week, here's the information, they're going to be more inclined to sign up because they feel like they know me and they know the resource that I am. And they know they're going to get a lot of information. So when they don't know the person, they're not going to sign up. But when they feel like they get to know you just from exchanging tweets and doing little videos, video replies came out. I really got really into it in 2017 because it was a feature they had added where before you couldn't, when you're in the mobile app, you couldn't reply with a video, but then they made that available. And I'm like, why is more people not doing this? Because how amazing that I can just reply to something you say to me in a tweet with me talking to you. So I just was like, on a mission. Like, I want everybody doing this because it will totally change how Twitter works for you. And then about a year and a half ago, Twitter took the feature away. All of a sudden, in the camera on the Twitter app, there was the little camera icon was gone. Like, you could not do a video inside of a tweet. You had to go out of the mobile app, go to your phone's camera, make a video, and go back. Well, that's too many steps. Who's going to do that? So the whole video reply thing kind of died down because it was too many steps. Even for me, I used to do it all the time. And it's like, well, who wants to do it? The whole point is to do it quickly. Well, the good news is Twitter brought it back not that long ago, maybe 3 or 4 months ago. All of a sudden, the camera was back in the app. So when you are in there replying to someone, it was always just when you're replying to a tweet they had taken. So next time you're on your mobile phone in the Twitter app, just go to any tweet, go through your notifications, pick a tweet out, hit reply, but then go click the little picture icon, which will open up the camera, point it at you, and just do it. Just like the art says, just do it. It's scary. I know it's scary for a lot of people. Sometimes it is for me. Sometimes I'm out walking my dog. I have no makeup on. I'm like, do I want to make a video? It's hard because we want to look great. But you know what? Nobody cares. It's about you and the information and what you're talking. Nobody cares what you look like. So that's the hardest hurdle for so many people to get over. So when I was doing these video tweets yesterday, back to the one with Nathalie, somebody replied to her and she was talking about, I'm not really comfortable doing video and, I'm not really, and she was talking about, so I replied to her tweet and made a video just to her. And I said, I know it's hard, but I showed her mine. Just do it. Trust me. I said, don't overthink. That's the hardest thing, is that we overthink. Just do it. And she came right back with a tweet and says, I'm inspired. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do like you said. I'm going to just do it. And if she starts doing it, she's going to be like, I had no idea that my Twitter would be even better just from taking a few extra seconds to reply to tweets with a video. That's simple.
Indeed. It is very simple and it is brilliant, absolutely. When people see you, when they connect with you, like I take people off the social media and I do a Zoom call with the people. I think there is some potential for business relationship, which is what I've been doing for the last many, many years. And I've developed wonderful teams of people, and we do so many different enterprises. The name of my company is Success Synergy Enterprises, and I love doing several different things. All of them are in the education space, one way or the other. But that's how I have built my business. And now I know social media can also be built in the same manner. And that is very, very encouraging, very heartening. Yeah. Initially, it was very intimidating for me, but now I've started loving it. And these tips that you've shared, they are just brilliant. Before we get off this show, can you just sum it up with something which you feel every new person, even if the person has been on Twitter or other social media platforms for 10 plus years and they haven't built their profiles, I would still consider them as new. So what do you suggest to the new people? Maybe it's one great, brilliant piece of advice. And also for the people who have been there for a longer duration of time, how can they remodulate their strategy to get better information?
The best thing to do is you've got to be consistent. People will sometimes get on social media when they're not busy, but then they might be off for a few days and they go back, it's just back and forth. And that doesn't work. Consistency is what works. So I would make the effort to every single day, even if it's just a little bit of tweeting, just be active, be on there so people can see that you're active. When you have time, it's not as effective. So I would just make a habit of every single day. If you can do multiple times per day, even better, but try to, at minimum, spend 10 or 15 minutes a day on there. And you'll see the difference when you're consistent. And when you start doing this consistently, start tweeting a little bit more and then checking your notifications every day, conversing with people that are reaching out to you, you're going to start seeing the numbers rise. You're going to start seeing more followers. You're going to start seeing more engagement. You go look at your analytics, which is available on Twitter, by the way. You can get into it from the menu when you're only on desktop. When you're on a browser, on the left side menu at the bottom, it says more. And when you click on more, it'll say analytics. And you can also just bookmark it, analytics.twitter.com. And just look at the numbers. Take a little screenshot now, and then for a week or two, just spend more time on there. Be consistent. Reply to all the notifications you get. Go join a Twitter chat or two, and just get out there and really just show everybody who you are and what you do. And then go check your analytics. Again, take a screenshot, because I would love to, if people want to take a screenshot and send to me so I can see like a before and after, that would be awesome. But you'll see a difference. That consistency works. Consistency and engagement. You can't just be a lurker. You got to be on there talking to people. So set up some Twitter lists. Go find people to connect with in your industry. Just have conversation. Don't be afraid to jump in. You see people talking, even if it's like let's say the top, a great thing is to make a list of top people in your industry. And don't be intimidated or afraid when you see their tweet to jump in and converse. They might reply back to you and you'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe this big deal person's talking to me. How amazing is that? And who knows, maybe it becomes it's a start of a relationship where they can help you with your business. You just never know where it will lead. In our industry in social media and marketing, Gary Vaynerchuk is one of the top people out there for many, many years. He's like one of the top social media marketers, and he has millions of followers, and he follows me back. He doesn't follow that many people. And he follows me back, and I've tweeted with him before. And I'm like, how is this guy? I can't imagine how he even notices me. And I got to meet him at a conference years ago. I introduced myself, and he followed me at that time, but I'm like, yeah, so does everybody else. Like he goes, I know who you are in person. I was like,
that's amazing.
Yeah, but it's because I had him in a Twitter list. I pay attention to his tweets. I try to converse. They're not going to always reply. You can't expect the big name people to reply to every tweet you do. But if they're using Twitter and they're on there actively, they will notice you. They may not reply. They may not hit the like button, but I guarantee you, you are being noticed. And that's why, and this now goes to the very basics. It's very important to go do a quick audit on your Twitter account. What is your Twitter account? I probably stand out to Gary Vaynerchuk because I make sure that my profile looks good. I have a nice big header image at the top. I've got a good profile picture that looks like me. So if you see me at a conference or an event, you'll hey, there's Madalyn over there.
Yes.
Make sure it's where they can see your face. And make sure the bio is good. You get 160 characters. Use the space to have a good bio that explains who you are, what you do, and then have a link to your main website below that. And there's a place for location. It's really important to utilize that. If you're a local business, you for sure. Even though I work with people worldwide, I still have Houston, Texas, where I live, because you never know. At the beginning where you were doing the intro for me, I've been ranked number 1 social media power influencer in Houston, Texas. That would not have happened if I didn't have Houston as the location. On Twitter, they were specifically searching for social media marketers in the Houston area, and that's how they did the search. So a lot of people don't utilize the location properly. Oh, I work with everybody everywhere. Let me just put worldwide. Well, okay, but if somebody is specifically looking for someone in your area, then they're not going to know you're local. So little things like that can make a huge difference.
They do. They definitely do. Thank you so much, Madalyn. It was a world of information that you have packed in this 1 hour, less than 1 hour. But it's just amazing. And I'll go live. I'm saying this on recording. I would love to have you again back, maybe a month or 2 later. Please, if you can just agree to that, that would be just wonderful. Sure. By that time, my growth would have been better, bigger, and I would have been prepared to ask you better questions, and that I'm sure will help a lot of other people
That
also.
would be great. Like a little follow-up, take a screenshot of your analytics today, Nina, and hopefully everybody
Yeah,
else
do
tuning
that.
in, take a screenshot and then go do an audit of your account, go through, make sure everything, and look at my Twitter profile for an example so you can see like how I'm using it so that people know who I am and what I do, and go look at other people in your industry and see what they're doing, and that'll give you ideas. You want to make sure your profile is great, and then just start using these tips. I do have a free little online mini class. I'm happy to share the link that talks about a lot of these things we're discussing today. A lot of these, I call it my Twitter secret sauce. And
Yes,
so,
I have the link. I'll put it in the description of this video, definitely. It's
yeah, because it's
true.
just, you could go through the whole thing in like 30 minutes. It's very quick. It's just a little bit
Yes,
of reading, but it's mostly videos of me just talking about a lot of the things we talked about here, that will get you motivated to start doing these things, and you definitely will see a difference.
definitely. Definitely. I'm already seeing so much of difference, and as we continue, I'm sure there'll be a world of difference within 1 year that happens. And I'm
Yes.
so very thankful. Thank you, Madalyn. It's been a wonderful time with you, and
Thank you,
you've
Nina.
been so gracious. You've been so gracious. I'm so grateful to you. Thank you very much. And just stay
Well,
back
thanks
and
for having me. I appreciate you inviting me to come on.
thank you so much.